How to inspire people to follow you willingly without forcing them. Imagine you walk into a room. You don't have the highest position. You don't have the biggest salary. You don't give orders. You don't threaten anyone. And yet, people naturally listen when you speak. They trust your ideas. They want to help you. They even choose to follow your direction when nobody is forcing them. What makes this possible? Is it charisma? Confidence? Intelligence? Or is there a hidden principle behind why people willingly follow certain individuals? The surprising answer is that true influence is usually not about controlling people. It is about giving them a reason to believe. And in this story, we're going to discover how you can inspire people to follow you, not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. Let's begin with something important. There are two very different ways to make people follow you. The first is force. You say, "Do this because I said so." People may obey. But what happens when you're not there? They stop. They do the minimum. They may even secretly resist you. Force can create obedience, but it rarely creates loyalty. The second method is completely different. Instead of asking, "How can I make people follow me?" you ask, "How can I make people believe in what we're trying to accomplish?" That small change in thinking can completely transform leadership. Think about a sports team. Imagine a coach who constantly shouts at the players, "Run faster. Don't make mistakes. Do what I say." The players might obey because they are afraid of being punished. Now imagine another coach. This coach explains the goal. We're not just trying to win one game. We're building a team that can trust each other under pressure. Every practice is helping us become better. The players understand the reason behind the work. Suddenly, practice feels different. They don't just follow instructions. They become part of something. And that is the first secret of inspiration. Give people a meaningful reason to move forward. People want to know that their effort matters. If you ask someone to work hard without explaining why, the task can feel like a burden. But when people understand the purpose, something changes. A difficult project becomes a challenge. A boring task becomes a contribution. A long journey becomes an adventure. People don't always need an easy path. They need a path that feels worthwhile. The second secret is surprisingly simple. Listen. Many people think inspiring others means being a great speaker. But great leaders often spend more time listening than talking. Imagine someone comes to you with an idea. You immediately interrupt. That won't work. What happens? They probably stop sharing ideas. Now imagine you say, "Tell me more. Why do you think this could work?" You may discover something you hadn't considered. More importantly, the person feels respected. And people are much more likely to support someone who respects their voice. You don't have to agree with everyone, but you can make people feel heard. That alone can transform relationships. The third secret is consistency. Imagine a person who gives inspiring speeches about honesty, but lies whenever it benefits them. Would you trust that person? Probably not. People watch what you do much more carefully than what you say. If you tell people to be punctual yourself. If you expect people to admit mistakes, admit your own mistakes. If you ask people to stay calm under pressure, demonstrate calmness when things go wrong. Your behavior becomes your strongest message. People follow examples more easily than instructions. Now comes one of the most powerful ideas. Don't try to appear perfect. Imagine a leader who never admits mistakes. Every failure is someone else's fault. Every success belongs to them. Eventually, people become suspicious. But imagine a leader who says, "I made a mistake. Here's what I learned, and here's what we're going to do differently." That doesn't necessarily make the leader look weak. It can make them look human. People don't need perfect leaders. They need trustworthy ones. Another important principle is giving people ownership. Imagine you're working on a project. Someone tells you exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. You have almost no freedom. Now imagine someone explains the goal and then says, "Here's what we're trying to achieve. I trust you to help decide the best way to get there." Which situation makes you more motivated? For many people, the second one. Why? Because people want to feel that they are participants, not robots. When people have meaningful responsibility, they often become more committed to the result. But there's something else that powerful influencers understand. They don't make everything about themselves. Instead of saying, "Look how successful I am," they say, "Look what we can accomplish together." Instead of taking all the credit, they recognize the people around them. Instead of creating followers who depend on them forever, they help others become stronger and more capable. That's a strange thing about genuine leadership. The best leaders don't create people who constantly need them. They create people who can eventually lead themselves. Now imagine you're trying to convince someone to try something new. Maybe they are afraid of failure. You could say, "Stop being scared," but that probably won't help. Instead, ask, "What would make you feel more comfortable trying?" Now you're not fighting their fear. You're trying to understand it. Perhaps they need more information. Perhaps they need a smaller first step. Perhaps they simply need someone to believe in them. Sometimes inspiration begins with understanding. Another powerful tool is storytelling. Facts can explain an idea, but stories can make people feel it. Imagine saying, "We should protect the environment because pollution is harmful." That's true. But imagine telling the story of a child who grows up near a polluted river and dreams of seeing clean water again. Suddenly, the issue feels personal. Stories help people connect ideas with emotions and experiences. That is why great leaders, teachers, entrepreneurs, and communicators often use stories. They don't simply tell people what to think. They help people imagine what is possible. But there is one rule that should never be forgotten. Inspiration should not become manipulation. There is a difference. Manipulation hides information and exploits people's weaknesses to get what you want. Inspiration respects people's ability to make their own decisions. If someone says no, you respect the answer. If someone disagrees, you listen. If someone chooses a different path, you don't punish them for it. Real influence leaves people with freedom. And strangely enough, that freedom can make their support more meaningful. So how can you inspire people to follow you willingly? Start with purpose. Listen before speaking. Lead by example. Admit your mistakes. Give people meaningful responsibility. Recognize their contributions. Understand their concerns. Tell stories that make the goal understandable. And most importantly, treat people as human beings, not as tools. Because people rarely follow someone simply because that person demands it. They follow when they trust the person. They follow when they understand the mission. They follow when they feel respected. And they follow when they believe that walking together can lead somewhere better. Perhaps the most powerful form of leadership is not standing in front of everyone and shouting, "Follow me." It is walking toward a meaningful goal, then turning around and saying, "Would you like to come with us?" That small difference changes everything. Because forced followers may obey you, but inspired people choose to walk beside you.